Hello, namaskar, namaskara, namaskaram, namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi and here I am with the daily dose of current affairs. Not only that, but also to help you in applying the tactics and smart strategies in order to win Prelims 2024 of UPSC. So, let's begin with the first question. With respect to Agni Prime, consider the following statements. It is a two-stage canisterized solid propellant ballistic missile. Agni missiles are ballistic in nature, but we have to ensure we know how many engines are there, what kind of propellant are they using. It is heavier than all the earlier Agni Prime, Agni series missiles. So first, let's see if this is correct or not. Yes, it is two-stage canisterized. That means there is a cylinder. There are twin-stage cylinders which are filled with solid fuels. Although it is filled with solid fuel, remember it is lighter than all the earlier Agni missiles. Why lighter? Because we need to have an edge over our enemies. That is why it is lighter. So first and second, both are correct. Option C will be the correct answer. This is the new generation Agni Prime missile, which has been developed by DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. It was launched from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island off the coast of Odisha. And this is a twin-stage or two-stage canisterized solid propellant missile. The fuel is solid, remember. It also has dual redundant navigation and guidance system. Dual redundant means if one navigation and guidance system fails, the other one will continue to operate, will come to the rescue. It has a range between 1000 to 2000 kilometers. Sometimes it can also happen, prelims can ask you a question on that. It was tested for the very first time in June 2021 and it is lighter than the earlier Agni series missile. Agni is the backbone of India's missile system. Also, we have the other important missile system, that is Prithvi. Remember that, Prithvi short-range ballistic missiles and also fighter aircraft. India is on a way to achieve nuclear triad. What is nuclear triad? That means we have nuclear weapon capabilities from land, nuclear armed submarines and also strategic aircrafts that have the capability of deploying nuclear bombs. How is this possible? Because we have the nuclear ballistic missile submarine INS Arihant. Okay, moving ahead. If the RBI decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, which of the following would it not do? In order to answer this question, you have to know what is expansionary monetary policy. Expansionary monetary policy is the one in which we should have a lot of monetary flow, lots of money, lots of liquidity in the economic system. Cut and optimize the statutory liquidity ratio, increase the marginal standing facility rate and cut the bank rate and repo rate. See, if we need more money, we need to ensure that banks have less money locked with them. Through statutory liquidity ratio, they have to keep a certain amount locked in the economic system. So, if we cut and optimize the statutory liquidity ratio, the banks will have more money. That means expansionist policy will be there. So, first is not going to be the correct answer. Increase the marginal standing facility rate is correct because if this is increased, the banks will have to borrow money at a higher rate. So, second is of course correct. Cut the bank and repo rate. Repo rate is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow money from the central bank. And that is why it is important to keep repo rate at a check. So if there is a cut in the repo rate, too much money will be flowing into the economy because banks will now have more money with them to lend it to the customer because a bank is giving a lesser interest to the RBI. So first and third are out of the picture. Only second is correct. 2 only will be the correct answer. You can also tackle this question if the questions could be 1 only, 2 only, 3 only or all 3 are correct or incorrect like that. See, why have I asked you this question? Because recently at the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, this decision has been taken that lending and deposit rates are likely to remain unchanged. That means the EMI and other sorts of borrowing will not be hampered. Monetary Policy Committee was constituted for the first time in 2016 and this is under the RBI Act of 1934. Who recommended? I hope you can answer this question. Who recommended the formation of this committee? It was Urijit Patel Committee. Alright, so repo rate I have already taught you. It is the rate at which the commercial banks get money from the RBI. If RBI has increased the repo rate, what will happen? The commercial banks will not borrow money or they will borrow less money. So when there is less money with the banks, they might not be able to give it to the other customers. So if the repo rate is increased, less money. If the repo rate is decreased, more money, because banks will borrow more from the RBI and there will be a lot of liquidity. When the banks want an expansionary monetary policy, they reduce the repo rate so that the commercial banks go to the RBI and say, please give us the money so that we can earn profit by giving it as loans. And when there is a need to increase the demand by the public, repo rate is decreased. Why? Because the customers will go to the bank, borrow more money and have more demand. Okay, I hope you understood this. Okay, this is the prime monetary tool. Moving on, the life and legacy of India's most controversial king is about the Mughal king Aurangzeb. It has been authored by whom? The correct answer from these many answers is Audrey Trushke. She has written this particular book in which she reveals the two sides or the very unknown side of the Mughal emperor or king Aurangzeb. She said that he could be cruel and benign at the same time. So we have to remember certain intricacies of Aurangzeb as well. He was the 6th Mughal emperor and 3rd son of Shah Jahan. His actual name was Mu'a-ul-Din Muhammad and he was born in Malwa. He assumed the title of Alamgir, that means the world conqueror. He was a Puritan in nature, very religious in nature. Many people called him bigot as well because he reimposed jizya on Hindus. This is a tax that was abolished by Akbar the Great, but later on it was reimposed by Aurangzeb. This was a tax that had to be paid by the non-Muslims as second-class citizens. He was influenced by the Naqshbandi Sufi order, and Prince Akbar rebelled against Father Aurangzeb. And what happens? Aurangzeb. And what happened that in the connection of that only, the 9th Sikh Guru, who was Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, he was executed, and that is still very controversial. See, the Deccan policy of Aurangzeb was enforced so that the Marathas could be checked. But when he achieved this policy, that means when he conquered Golconda and Bijapur, the barrier between these two, you can say dynasty, Marathas and Mughals, it, collapsed. And then was a direct confrontation between these two dynasties. This sometimes is also called the Deccan ulcer, which ruined Aurangzeb. And the Marathas under Shivaji were a huge threat to Aurangzeb. So in order to capture Shivaji, Aurangzeb sent Shaista Khan as well as Jai Singh back to back. Jai Singh successfully captured him, took Shivaji to Delhi, but there he escaped. And hence, of course, a very famous story got born from that. Now, Shivaji employed guerrilla tactics in order to ensure that he remains out of the clutches of the Mughal emperor. Now, we have to know that when the death of Aurangzeb occurred, after that the Mughal empire became virtually extinct. The White Nile and the Blue Nile meet at the capital of which of the following countries? Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Egypt. So these two are the important tributaries. And I have asked you this question. Why? Because Sudan is very much in the news as the paramilitary force and the army. These two are struggling in order to do the power capture. The fighting is continuing in Sudan and many questions could be asked, even the bordering countries, also the important lakes and rivers, about the capital as well. That is why this question has been formulated. Blue Nile originates from Lake Tana in Ethiopia, moves northward, and then from Lake Victoria we have the White Nile. It originates from there, meets the Blue Nile at Khartoum, which is the capital of Sudan. So the correct answer to this question will be, of course, Sudan. That is option B. And when these two meet at Khartoum, they start feeding the Nile River. Nile River makes a delta in the country of Egypt, then drains into the Mediterranean Sea. What is the theme of the World Ocean Day 2023? I will ensure I will keep the important or significant days on a daily basis. The correct answer is the planet oceans changing tide. Why? Because of the increase in the global temperatures, the water is expanding. Too much low pressure areas are getting evolved, and because of that cyclonic activities are taking place. So June 8th is World Ocean Day. We celebrate it annually. The theme is the planet oceans changing tides. In order to show that there is a lot of importance of the oceans, we have to reverse the worsening trends that have occurred. So that we can save lives and livelihood of so many people, we need to ensure that we dedicate our attention to the world's ocean. Also, oceans are responsible for at least 50% of Earth's oxygen production. There are over a billion people who are dependent on it for fisheries, especially if you talk about India, the coastal regions. So I hope you liked today's episode. I will try to bring more current affairs on a daily basis for you. If you want the PDF of this, please join the Telegram channel Pooja Dwivedi Study IQ.